I'm glad to see you've made it. I'm Dr. Matt, and this is little Jimmy. I'd like to formally introduce you to him. It might say little Joe, but he is, in fact, Jimmy. Now, something to note about Jimmy. Jimmy's very happy. Okay, Jimmy wasn't born with this huge smile on his face. Well, technically he was, because he's an inanimate object. But if he wasn't, this is how happy we would want to be. We would want to be Jimmy. Right now, I don't think you're Jimmy. I'm mostly Jimmy. Not quite as happy as little Jimmy, but I'm close. But you, not sure you're quite as happy as little Jimmy. And today, together, we're going to find out why, and perhaps some things we can do to be more like Jimmy. So, tips to knowing when someone's happy. There's an area at the bottom of the face known as the mouth. When the corners of the mouth are facing up towards the ears, it's a good indication that they're happy. Now, little Jimmy actually smells like vanilla, and I don't want my fingers to be covered in little Jimmy's scent, so you need to bear with me 2 seconds. Jimmy may have fallen, but he's fine. He's going to come back stronger than he was. So this is not a physical examination. This should not be confused. This is an inspection. And these gloves are because, well, I want to keep Jimmy's scent off my fingers, and they're cozy. Now, let me get Jimmy. Jimmy comes with a clip that I'm going to just pop in here. Drilling into Jimmy here. Notice how his facial expression never changes. He's just always happy. Now that wasn't as barbaric as it may have seemed. Jimmys want to be pegged. If I do say so myself, his smile is a little bit wider than it was before. Now, the purpose of today is to take you from where you are right now, get you more like Jimmy. Now, we'll be coming back to Jimmy later, but for right now, we're going to go through some exercises, some mental exercises. I have a little pack of sticky notes here. I still need to remove from the pack, but on each sticky note, I want you to tell me what it is you think I'm drawing. Being especially careful here because I know your ears can be quite sensitive. Okay. We have a post-it note. I'm going to start to draw something. Could be a number, a letter, an image, an item, maybe even a feeling. Whatever you think you see me drawing, like you just don't shout it out, but let me know. inch around you here. Okay. Stop me if you know what it is. No, I'm not finished yet. No, it is not a square with a triangle on top. I suppose in two-dimensional, it's not wildly inaccurate. Let me help you out with a little bit of detail here. Yes, there you go. Granted, drawing is not my forte, but that isn't the purpose of this exercise. So this is a house. You didn't guess house until pretty much the second window. Now this is an indicator for me. I'd like you to tell me that whose house is this? I'll give you a clue. It's not Jimmy's. He's happy, it's fine. Whose house would this be? Okay. I'll pick that up later. It was louder and a little bit more dramatic than I expected. Okay. The house. Next. Okay. And if you could pick a color, any color in the spectrum, to shade our heart, what color would you pick? Okay. It's interesting. So we have a heart and a house. Next image. Now, I don't want you to think about this. I want you to look with your eyes and see. Okay? I'll keep going. Potentially. You see that clears up any ambiguity, I'm sure. Okay. Well, it's not that, but it's an animal. Clearly, it's a farm animal, and if that's a tail, in case you're wondering what that might be. No, that is indeed a tail. I'd like you to give our animal a name. Okay? You have a house, a heart of a very specific color, and an animal. Okay. I'm going to draw one more drawing. I don't think it's unfair to call it a drawing. Then I would like to check your heart rate. Alright, here we go. Mask of Zorro is not right. What do you think this is? Very good. Very good. Thank you. Now, I'd like to just very quickly listen to your heart. And she's calling for you. Excuse me? No. This be placed onto the chest. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. I see. Your heart sounds entirely regular, which is good. I would like to listen. There's a very famous doctor called Dr. Angelica, during a routine examination of a very famous patient, GB. She was listening for the heart rate in the shoulder. And I think I'd just like you to look straight ahead for me, please. Okay, I'm not getting a heart rate in the shoulder. According to Angelica, that was very bad. I'd like to check your other shoulder. Okay. And just finally, the heart rate for the heart in your forehead. And just breathe normally, please. Wonderful. Okay. Well, the heart rate in your chest is very regular. The heart rates in your shoulders and your forehead, not quite as regular. But we consult with Jimmy. Now, we just run you through a very simplified exercise where I would start to draw badly an image, and you would start to summon ideas of what the image might manifest into. And this is where it gets psychological, because given the sum total of your experiences so far, this can govern what it is that your mind puts forward and in what order. You'll notice I asked for what could it be? What else could it be? It wasn't about my ability to draw. It was about your brain drawing potential answers based on everything you've experienced so far, or the cumulative total of who you are. Because all we are is a series of moments added together that makes us our personality. That's not to say that we're defined by one very specific point. It could be from a multitude, some with larger influencing factors than others. But the point is, this is particularly true to being as happy as Jimmy, we can add to our experiences. So when you meet somebody like Jimmy, it could be that Jimmy started off life very, very sad, with a very difficult upbringing. Maybe Jimmy couldn't walk, or his arms were stuck out to the side, and this wasn't a happy time for Jimmy. But Jimmy, at one point in time, started introducing positive experiences into his life. And if you imagine our lives as a glass of water, and it starts off completely clear, and then for every bad experience we have, some darker fluid goes in, and maybe you get to 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, and your liquid is very, very dark. You still feel like a good person, but you're very sad. The very fiber of you isn't yellow and smiley, it's dark. The solution that you are now is not your final color. We can add in some of the most colorful, bright and inspiring colors. And this is part of the lesson. Now, sometimes your liquid, your life can be too bright. Like Jimmy, he's blinded by all the dazzling experiences he's had. And one day, maybe Jimmy's just doing a Jimmy thing and being happy and oblivious, and Jimmy trusts everything and worries about nothing. But what is this? This is a snake. And if the snake comes along unnoticed, Jimmy sees the snake, but he sees no threat. Jimmy sees the good in everybody, in everything. Now the snake wants to eat Jimmy. But the evil snake has been thwarted by a third party. Snake is very tasty. But the point I'm making here is that Jimmy is happy and was carefree. But if that snake had been allowed to infiltrate his life, terrible things could have happened. And you and I, we intervened. We recognized the danger, and we helped little Jimmy. And we as the third parties can represent so many circumstances and entities in somebody's life. We could have been a friend who recognized the danger of somebody, of something. Maybe it's drugs, maybe it's gambling, something that might have profound negative impact on our little Jimmy's life. We were able to see the danger for him and intervene. Sometimes we have to listen to our friends, to our family, to our loved ones. And this is why it's all well and good being a lone wolf. Maybe you're happy on your own. But sometimes it's good to have an insurance policy. Now, I like to do that scene again because those snakes are delicious. Now, I would like to resume the exercise. Now, we have lifted the cover here. We've removed the wool from your eyes so you know what it is I'm doing. Let's see if it influences your decision points. Okay. I'm going to write a word this time, and I want you to say the first word that comes to mind, the first connotation of that word, then maybe the second and the third. But here's the first word. Strength. I made my H look like an A, but strength. The first word you associate with strength. Okay. Nope, I only need the one word. Might not always be the case, but I was telling you now. Okay. Next word. Sun. Nope, that's fine. Absolutely fine. Let me just take a very quick note. Okay. I'd like to put this on hold just for a quick moment. I'm going to do something a little bit out with process. I have one here somewhere. No plastic bag. Here. I'm going to measure your happiness. Now, we all have different sizes of happiness. Some of us have big happy, some of us have little happy, and some of us have non-existent happy. This is measured by measuring from one end of happy to the end of it. We're going to start from this happiness here. I mean, that's certainly let me try something else. That's curious. How long have you felt this kind of happy? Yes, I'm aware I'm wearing both. And on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being very surprised, sad face, 10 being happy face, 11 being Jimmy, where do you see yourself on that scale? Really? Good. Good. Okay. Call for Jimmy. Now, let me get my pen. Jimmy, with his big happy face, his little Joe jumper. Jimmy doesn't ask for a whole lot in life. In fact, Jimmy needs very little because Jimmy understood that if you were to give somebody everything their heart desires, which is almost always money or a love, fairly predictable. But let's say you gave Jimmy all the money ever. It's going to buy you some very real but temporary happiness. Because there's only so many cars you can buy and steaks you can eat. Okay, scratch the steaks. You could probably eat steak happily till the day you die. But the point is, there are materialistic items in this world that we strive for. But it isn't actually the item that gives us the purpose. It's the pursuit of the item. And little Jimmy knew this. So if you give somebody an infinite amount of money, and therefore an infinite amount of possibility, the excitement and the drive dissipates. And this is what Jimmy doesn't suffer from, because Jimmy's happiness is right here, right in his tummy. It's not to say he's eating too much, but this is where the happiness can start. Not from the external things. External influences can have significant but very short-term impacts on our happiness. The long term. Let me draw this for you. Do this sideways. This is our lifeline. Where we're born and when we see what's next. Between these 2 points, we have a happiness line. And by the sounds of it, this is our happiness scale. Your happiness, and most people's as children, start off quite strong. Doing well. Because we have very little external materialistic factors here. Because we have no concept of money. All we really know is that if we exist, get fed, have some interaction, we can pick up something, doesn't matter what it is, we feel happy. But it's when we get to these kind of ages, 10, 11, 12, the adolescent years, we start to become aware of other impacts, other influences. And this is where we want. And we always like this, but support at this age and beyond can be the difference between going up here or coming back down here. This area here this is primary, but not exclusive. For different people, there can be these support points in our life where we can go up or down. Now Jimmy didn't start off so well. Jimmy was down here. But then Jimmy found the happiness inside. And he went up here. Now, the question that will come to the mind is, how do I find out what makes me happy in here? Well, for some people, they're very lucky and they almost have an unending reservoir of that feeling in here. And regardless of external influences, this well of happiness seems boundless. Okay? Most people aren't like that. But that well of happiness is actually the glass of the liquid that I mentioned at the beginning. You don't need anything else other than to keep this well, this glass, the right color. That clear, colorless. Okay? We don't want any of that dark, that the night, color of night. We don't want that. We want light. As if we're basking in the sun. We want to pour these positive experiences into our glass. Okay, and maybe we're just trickling, in some cases, just pouring a few drops of that different colored solution into our little flask. Okay? Be mindful. Be mindful that if you spend too long in somebody's area and circumference, they can taint. They can color your solution. It's important to surround yourself with good people wherever you can, because we are the product of our environment. Just remember Jimmy. His inside is happy because he's been able to make some of his outside very happy. Little Jimmy. Unfortunately, time is almost up for today's session. But from Jimmy and I would like to say good night and be mindful of who we surround ourselves with, what we surround ourselves with, and if indeed they are improving or lowering our overall happiness, our well of happiness, just like Jimmy.